Here on the tree-shaded banks of Lake Dinkawawa lies one of America's great storehouses of knowledge, the Double Dome Institute for Advanced Thinking. You, sir, what is your scholastic background?
Well, I have a BA from Columbia, an MA from Harvard, and a PhD from Caltech.
And I take it you're a professor here?
No, I'm the janitor.
Oh, I see. Well, are you gentlemen members of the faculty?
Faculty,
we're the freshman class. A squared B prime X plus Y. Upsilon, Omicron, Eta Theta Pi. Contemplate, cerebrate, cogitate, do. Double dome, we love you. Felicitations, felicitations, felicitations.
Yes, Double Dome is a shining jewel in the crown of American scientific wisdom, so you can imagine the consternation and dismay that prevailed when one day...
I say, Armbruster, what's the formula for the isopyridine derivative of benzene?
Don't ask me. I'm busy playing with my piece of string.
Armbruster, are you making sport of me?
Oh, no, I'm making a cat's cradle.
Hotchkiss, I think Armbruster has flipped his scholastic wig.
He certainly has. This is how you make a cat's cradle.
Yes, two of the smartest geniuses at Double Dome were now utterly stupid. That wasn't the end either. For next day at a super-secret missile base not far away...
I think you'll find the inertial guidance cam requires a beryllium alloy, gentlemen.
Beryllium?
Beryllium. B-E...
What is it, Doctor?
I can't spell beryllium.
Oh, that's B-E-R-Y-L-L-I-U-M.
Yes, but how do you make the B?
Soon panic reigned in the highest circles of the scientific community. And at a top-level meeting in Washington, D.C., an ace investigator was put on the job.
Inspector, somebody somewhere is draining off America's brain power. Do you think you can solve the case?
It's child's play, Professor.
Well, what did you find out?
I found out that you can use a magnifying glass to give people a hot foot.
Oh!
Yes, the detective was now as dumb as the scientist. It seemed that the smarter the investigator, the dumber he became.
That's it, gentlemen. We must start from the opposite direction. We have to find a sleuth with no brain to affect. We need the services of the greatest numbskull in America. And that's...
No. You're getting ahead of the story.
Oh.
Well, the great hunt was on. Government files were ransacked for the names and records of every clodpole, dim bulb, and schnook in the country. Finally, the choice was made.
Gentlemen, upon this one nitwit rests the fate of our entire nation.
And his name?
Bullwinkle Moose, Frostbite Falls, Minnesota.
No.
Now.
You called?
Yeah, here's a letter for you, Bullwinkle.
Wowie!
Why so happy? You don't even know what's in the letter yet.
I know, but look at that stamp, a genuine picture of Lincoln with a beard.
You must be crazy about Lincoln.
No, I'm crazy about beards. What does the letter say?
It's from Washington.
Washington. You suppose he heard I was a Lincoln fan?
Bullwinkle.
I'd be a Washington fan, too, if he had a beard. And Washington needs all the fans it can get this year.
Bullwinkle, this says we have to go to Washington. Washington, D.C.
Oh, then let's.
But it wasn't that easy, for at that moment, a mysterious figure lobbed a live hand grenade at Bullwinkle.
Oh, hey, cut it out. You want to hurt somebody?
Apparently so, and we'll find out who next time in the Brain Drainers or Malice in Wonderland.
You won't find it on a map because it isn't there anymore, but there was such a place known as Tootsie Lavender, which in French means feet of purple. Now, the reason it was called feet of purple is because all the people who lived there had purple feet. This was not an allergy, but was due to the fact that the entire countryside was covered with grapevines. And when you have that many grapevines, you have an abundance of grapes and grape stompers. Hence the name Tootsie Lavender. As the years went by, they produced not only all sorts of wines and grape juice, but a very tasty champagne. There was only one thing wrong with it. When you opened a bottle, the cork would not pop.
The champagne is no good. It is flat.
It wasn't flat. It just would not pop. The scientific minds of Tootsie Lavender immersed themselves in the problem and came up with all sorts of cures.
Here we have a bottle containing a dash of nitroglycerin. This will make a pop.
That didn't work too well. Then, one day...
Go away. We are busy.
Excuse me, gentlemen, but I believe I can help you.
Before a protest could be lodged, the stranger stuck a finger in his mouth and...
Sacre bleu! Do it again!
For 3 weeks, the papa popped to the delight and the amazement of the scientists. Well, the upshot of it all was this. When you purchased a bottle of Tootsie Lavender champagne, you also received the services of the papa.
Look, dear, I bought a bottle of champagne.
And who is that?
It comes with it. Ready, monsieur?
Anytime.
The man pulled the cork, the papa popped. And everyone was happy. This went on for a year, with the papa appearing all over the land, popping his way into the hearts of everyone. And then, one day, the evil prince who ruled Tootsie Lavender decided to give a party.
3,000 bottles of champagne?
Oui, and you must guarantee that they make with the pop.
Well, where do I appear today?
At the castle of the evil prince. You must pop 3,000 times, and without fail, or...
Easy, shopkeeper. I shall do it easily.
But this was the wet season, and the papa was forced to fight his way to the castle through a blinding downpour. What's more, wet, cold rain can play odd tricks on a person, as you will soon see. The prince's party was a gay one. That is, until the time came to drink champagne.
All right, Popper. Do your work, and do it well.
Never fear, your evilness.
The first bottle was brought out. The prince pulled out the cork, pointed to the papa. The papa went through his customary procedure, and... no pop.
You try to make the fool of me.
I can't understand it. I'll try again.
Though he tried and tried, not a pop could he make. The party was a dismal failure.
Enough of this. Throw him in the dungeon.
The papa was dumped unceremoniously inside the castle's deepest, dankest, darkest dungeon.
Oh, well. Into each life some rain must fall.
Who said that?
I believe it was the Mills brothers. Who are you?
There, in a corner, sat a bearded figure.
I am the prince of Tootsie Lavender.
Well, then who's the mean one upstairs?
An impostor who overpowered me and usurped my throne. Alas, if only I could get out of here.
I'd like to help you, but I have my own problems. Laryngitis of the papa.
Well, time wore on, and eventually the wet season moved on to San Francisco. The clear, dry air returned, and so did the papa's papa.
I did it. I got it back.
Oh, these nuts they put in here.
But the pops were to be the good prince's salvation. For the guards in the dungeon heard the sounds, believed them to be emanating from champagne bottles, and ran to the cell, glasses in hand.
Vive la Jackie!
By 3 that afternoon, every guard in the castle was in that cell. But the papa and the prince weren't. They had escaped completely unnoticed.
This way, mon ami. I have this score to settle.
Through a secret passageway they went, and where did it lead? To the great hall, where the evil prince was cheating at Scrabble.
Is that you, Pierre?
No, you rotten impostor. It is me.
You!
Revenge is sweet.
So is apple cider.
Back and forth they fought, neither giving an inch. And then the good one happened to trip.
Aha! The moment of truth.
The good prince would have had it not been for the papa. He popped.
Quick! Someone give me a glass!
And that's when a fist knocked him reeling. Well, from that day forward, Tootsie Lavender was a much happier land. As for our friend the papa, he was made royal instructor. Every man in the kingdom went to school to learn how to make the popping noise. And it suddenly occurs to me that most of those men were married and were fathers. I wonder if that's how they got the name Pop.
last time, you remember, some of the top scientific minds in the country reverted to being morons who couldn't add 2 and 2. The smartest investigators in the world were called on to solve the problem, but they too wound up as complete stoops. In desperation, the government called on Bullwinkle Moose.
They figured I had nothing to lose.
But it looked as if Bullwinkle might not even get started, for in our last episode, somebody had just tossed a live hand grenade at him.
Well, I'll be doggied. It's a pineapple.
Throw it away, Bullwinkle!
Might as well. It isn't even ripe. Hard as a rock. Whoa! Maybe it was riper than I thought.
Oh, boy. Come on, we better get started before something else happens.
Meanwhile, on the site of the explosion, the smoke was just clearing.
Boris, bad enough. Where are you?
I'm up in a tree.
Boris, did you get blown up by your own grenade again?
No, I'm up here robbing birds' nests.
But why?
It keeps me off the streets, that's why. About 10 feet off.
Oh, we're not starting out this story very well, darling.
Ho, ho, ho! One little setback, nothing. Moose will never reach Washington, Natasha. I'm going to use strategy on him.
You mean strategy, darling?
No, strategy. I'm gonna strategy the rope across the door and fasten the end to trigger of the shotgun. And when Moose comes out the door, what is it?
It's tragedy.
You said it.
But Boris was wrong again, for when Bullwinkle came out, he didn't just trip over the rope, he fell over it.
Boy, a good thing you fell, Bullwinkle. That thing went off right over your head.
Let's look on the bright side, Rock. It missed.
Not quite.
And so, in a little while, Rocky and Bullwinkle were on a train headed for Washington.
Gee, I'm worried, Bullwinkle.
The rating of the show down again?
No.
That's odd.
There have already been 2 attempts on your life.
Yeah, but don't worry. We'll be renewed.
I'm not talking about the Bullwinkle show.
You better. We can use the publicity.
I'm talking about somebody back there trying to get rid of you.
Oh, that. Well, they already missed me twice.
Yeah, but you know the old saying.
You mean everything comes to him who waits?
No, I mean the third time's the charm.
There's another one, too. If at first you don't succeed, try again. For just ahead of the train, Boris was approaching the tracks with a long crowbar.
Boris, to get Moose and Squirrel, you will wreck a whole train?
You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, Poopsie.
And Boris started to pry up one of the rails. As fate would have it, though, this particular railroad was powered by electricity, and when Boris's crowbar touched the third rail...
Ah!
Hey, Rocky! A feller just went by who was all lit up.
We must be next to the club car.
Oh.
And so our heroes traveled across the country unscathed, as Boris continued to light up the landscape.
Well, darling, you failed 3 times in one episode.
I know, it's a new course record.
You look pretty stupid, darling.
On the contrary, Natasha, I never looked brighter.
Meanwhile, our hero's train was pulling to a halt.
So this is Washington.
No, it's McKeithport, PA.
I know, I'm just practicing.
Thank goodness this trip will be over soon.
Little did our friends know that high above them flew a mysterious black airplane, which at that moment dropped its nose and plummeted down directly at their railroad car. Well, who's in that plane? And will it really smash into the train? And if so, will our heroes escape? And if they
And
do...
if you don't hurry, it's going to hit us before the episode ends.
Oh, yes. Remember, next time episode, the Deadheads are feeling zero.
And now, here's that master of the cinematic arts, Mr. Know-It-All.
Cinematic arts nothing. This is about the movies. Today our subject is how to direct temperamental movie stars. And our first example is a child star, little Muriel Merkel.
I's a bad girl, I is.
I am the only director in Hollywood who can make Muriel laugh. All right, little Muriel, the Colonel has come home from the war. Let's have a big laugh. A nice big laugh for America, Muriel. See, I really have a way with her. Next, we have Hoot Mix, a real He-Man who never lets a stuntman do any of his hard scenes. Okay, Hoot, let's see you fight with the dummy.
Anything you saying, boss?
Cut! That was very good, Hoot. Ow! Hey, that's not in the script.
I know, I'm just ad-libbing.
Next, we have handsome Zip Farnsworth, the most temperamental man in the industry.
Yeah!
But I am so good, I have even persuaded him to do a soap commercial. Ready? Action! Okay, Zip, what is it you do with the soap of Hollywood stars?
That's what I do with it, Buster.
Thank you, Zip. And good night from Hollywood.
out there. Peabody in here.
Anything wrong with the Wayback Machine, Mr. Peabody?
Merely changing the fan belt, Sherman.
I guess we won't be going back into history then, huh?
Oh, on the contrary, my boy, we're all set to invade the city of Paris in the year 1874.
Who are we going to meet?
The eminent French author, Jules Verne. I belted the fan belt into place, and in a twinkling we were hurtled back through time and space. The streets of Paris in those days were filled with horse-drawn carriages. Most of them moved along in sprightly fashion, but one was obviously getting nowhere.
Giddy up, Monsieur Horse.
That poor man is having trouble, Mr. Peabody.
That poor man, Sherman, is Jules Verne.
If you do not make with the feet, I shall be forced to deposit you in the nearest glue factory.
Trying to go somewhere, Monsieur Verne?
You bet your boots, monsieur. I am off to prove a theory.
Chateau theory, Mr. Verne?
Me no, little one. I am trying to prove that one can go around the world in 80 days. If it can be done, then I shall write a book about it.
It's got to be done, Mr. Peabody.
And it shall be done, Sherman, but not in a horse-drawn carriage. Under my direction, we walked to the nearest office of the French Foreign Legion.
Bonjour, monsieur. You wish to enlist?
Yes, but only if we can do duty in Switzerland.
You are in luck, my friend. It just so happened that a detachment of legionnaires is being dispatched to the Alps to fight the Swiss Navy. By the way, how old is this little fellow?
6. Going on 7, though.
Bon, you just get in under the age limit.
5 minutes later, we were on our way.
But if we are in the Legion, how will we go around the world?
We won't be in the Legion long, Monsieur Verne. And we weren't. For no sooner did we arrive in the Alps than the war was called off and we were dismissed from the service.
Well, we got as far as Switzerland. Now what, Mr. Peabody?
That flag over there, Sherman, recognize it?
The Olympics.
Correct. Overriding Jules Verne's objections, we signed up for the downhill slalom run, the most thrilling of all skiing events.
But I cannot ski.
No matter, it's downhill all the way. The starter fired the gun, and the three of us took off. 3 days later, we came to a stop in Venice, Italy.
Can we get some pizza, Mr. Peabody?
No time for that, Sherman. We have a schedule to adhere to. Our next stop, China.
But how do we get there from here?
Simple. We obtained positions as gondoliers and oared our way to the corner of 3rd and Venice. Luckily, the tide was ebb and we were carried out to sea.
7 days we have been adrift without food or water.
You think we have it bad? What about our passengers?
Hey, what's the matter for you? I'm telling my wife I bring home my spaghetti.
You'll have to cable her that you'll bring home chop suey and lychee nuts instead. Land ho!
I must congratulate you, Mr. Peabody. You have got us all the way to China, but I'm afraid we are stuck here.
Mr. Verne is right. How are we going to get across the Pacific?
To anyone but a genius, the problem would have been insurmountable. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Shanghai, get shanghaied. It was a beautiful crossing. Sherman worked as a cabin boy, Jules Verne wrote the captain's log for him, and I worked like a dog swabbing decks. With just 20 days left, we pulled into San Francisco Harbor and checked into the Golden Gate Gym.
Do they have rooms for the night here?
No, we're here seeking employment. See that sign?
Wanted, sparring partner for John L. Sullivan, leaving for New York tonight.
What is a sparring partner?
Jules Verne found out. It was a rough trip, to say the least. But eventually we reached New York, none the worse for the experience. That is, except for Mr. Verne.
I cannot take much more of this. How many days left?
Exactly 1.
But gee, Mr. Peabody, it's impossible to go from New York to Paris in 1 day.
Nothing is impossible. I wasted no time in rushing us to the shores of the Hudson River.
Look, a rowing race is about to start.
Yes, but not without us. I knew that Yale had the fastest shell in the country and were heavily favored to defeat all competition. It was in this boat that we set ourselves.
Just a moment. You guys can't sit here.
Oh, no. How would it look if you threw away your mascot?
The Yale mascot is a bulldog.
Young man, there's a bit of bulldog in all of us. The race was over. We fairly flew down the Hudson. That's when I took over as coxswain. Stroke, 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 stroke. 24 hours later, we rowed up the River Seine and walked ashore into the streets of Paris.
We did it. We went around the world in 80 days.
Bon, now I can go home and write the book.
Jules Verne did write the book and earned the plaudits not only of France, but of England as well. In fact, they put him on display in the Tower of London.
Really?
Really. Day after day, he stood there with a crown on his head.
In the Tower of London, Mr. Peabody?
Why, of course, Sherman. That's where they always keep the crown jewels.
our story last time, things were in terrible shape. Some of the nation's smartest geniuses were turning into complete idiots.
Professor, the public would like to know, what is your theory of ion imbalance in solid-state particles?
Don't bother me now. I'm watching the reruns of Pete and Gladys.
But, Professor, that's the commercial that's on now.
Yes, I know. That's the part I like best.
Within a period of weeks, America's intelligence level sank 14 points, the lowest level since 3 itty fishes. In Washington, there was near panic.
Dr. Flegel, we must have a meeting of the nation's remaining eggheads. Will you attend and act as chairman?
I can't.
Why not?
Mama won't let me cross the street.
In desperation, the government sent for Bullwinkle J. Moose.
And his pal Rocky.
Oh, yes, of course. Meanwhile, a few miles behind them...
Boris, darling, they got away.
I think maybe I've been working too hard, Natasha. I need a vacation.
What was that?
What was what? What was that?
I heard you bad enough.
Boris, that voice, where is it coming from?
My two-way wrist television?
A two-way wrist television?
I'll show that Dick Tracy.
Amazing.
Not so amazing. Everybody has one.
A two-way television?
A two-way wrist.
So, you want the vacation, bad enough?
Boris, that is the voice of fearless leader.
You were expecting maybe Ellen Font?
I may be able to arrange a permanent vacation for you, bad enough.
Just kidding, fearless leader, old body boy, baby doll. You know me.
Unfortunately, yes.
Ha ha, that's funny. Funny.
It wasn't supposed to be.
Oh.
Now that you have failed on your own, you will put into effect Plan X.
Plan X? Oh, no. No.
It's an order.
Plan X it is.
Signing off. Auf Wiedersehen.
You said it. You know, Natasha, fearless leader is a lying, cheating, double-crossing, vicious, no-good killer. But someday he'll go too far.
Meanwhile, as our heroes paused briefly at McKeesport, PA, a mysterious airplane flew above their train, then suddenly plunged directly at their railroad car.
Bullwinkle, that plane! It's gonna hit us!
Just because we took the train?
But at that moment, the plane dropped a large cylindrical object and zoomed upward.
Land the lakes, now what?
That must be a bomb. This is the end, Bullwinkle.
According to my watch, we still got 1 minute and 5 seconds.
And so it seemed, for a parachute suddenly popped up from the object, and as it floated down, our heroes heard a familiar voice.
Avast and belay, piped the quartermaster and left the dinghy.
Bullwinkle, that's Captain Peach Fuzz.
He sure looks different.
No, he's inside that escape pod.
And it was true. Outstep, backwards, of course, Captain Peter Wrong Way Peach Fuzz.
Rocky, Bullwinkle, where are you?
Right behind you, Captain.
Oh, don't ever sneak up on me like that.
How come this sudden visit, Captain?
Yeah, and why the pod?
Too many starches, I guess. Oh, the pod! Well, I just had to see you.
About what?
Well, it's all in this memo.
What memo?
Oh, wouldn't you know it? I must have left the memo with the pilot.
Oh, boy.
No, that can't be. I was the pilot.
You were?
Yes. I wonder what happened to the plane after I bailed out.
Hey, I think I know.
What?
It traveled in a big loop.
Yeah?
And right now, it's coming down on our head.
Yes, sir. There it comes now. No, and oh, good heavens. Well, don't miss our next episode, Free to Go, or Crash on Delivery.